Buenos nachos, amigos, and welcome to Record Breakers, a music podcast where a group of friends gather together to share music with each other, an album at a time. It's like a little book club for music. Fun time had by all. I'm Petey Rave, and here with me is my team, my squad, my crew. We've got David.
Shout out to Petey Rave, future IMDb star.
Yeah. And we've got Drew all the way at the end.
Define fun time had by all.
Oh, so it's so long. So we don't have that much time. We're here to talk about music. We're here to talk about an album. And the provider of the album is me. And I decided to bring an album by an artist that had got my attention on social media, on TikTok in particular. I think got a lot of people's attention on TikTok and social media, especially when a previous single, Otona Blue, was Otana Blue was kind of went viral in a couple of places, a couple locations, especially for like the dance and stuff. And they had amassed a nice little like following, a little bit of buzz, and they eventually signed to 88 Rising for their international promotions. For those that don't know, there's a prominent like Asian music international label that has like a lot of like K-pop artists and J-pop artists and like artists from like around the world in a lot of different genres, particularly hip hop. But yeah, they're a group of a J-pop girl group, a quartet that says that allegedly they met at the supermarket discount aisle. According to them, according to their lore. We're talking about ATARASHII GAKKO, ATARASHII GAKKO No Leaders, aka ATARASHII GAKKO, and their most recent album, AG Calling. All right, let's get into it. David, what was your mindset? What was your expectations coming into this album?
I really spent a minute thinking about that grocery store origin story. That one was very interesting. When I started looking into this group, I realized they are not the hip-hop group from the late 80s and early 90s that featured a very young Busta Rhymes, but in fact a J-pop quartet. So I expected some modern production, and I expected some singing, some rapping in a language that I don't know, and I expected to see another Japanese girl group that's all about breaking cultural traditions and cultural norms.
Yes. Drew, what were your expectations coming into this album?
Well, weirdly enough, coming into this album, when you threw it out there, it was something that I had jumped into a Discord for a different sort of internet community, and the music channel had just been made by the request of me, and we were sharing music back and forth. And this was actually one of the groups that came up, and that was like 2 weeks ago. So that, or no, like not 2 weeks ago, like 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, like a week or two before you dropped this in our laps. And I was like, oh, hey, that band. I kind of know what that's about. I listened to this in the background at work because they were like, you should listen to this. This is cool. So I had a little bit of an idea. I was like, oh, we're going to get some like weird jazzy / hip hoppy stuff. Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
I read ahead on accident. My bad.
Yeah. It is. They are a Japanese girl group, like David said, that kind of like they adopt a philosophy of challenging the norms of Japanese society, but mainly just do really fun, high energy music that blends a few different genres of pop, throw some like disco, some like funk, some techno, some like traditional Japanese singing styles, with rapping, they even have like a rap feature on this album, which we'll talk about later. They mix a lot of like different sounds together, but ultimately it's about this like very dynamic, high energy J-pop, very very built around vocals, because this is a quartet of singers. We have built around kind of canon, and then providing a little bit of like the raps and the sing talking, and then Mizu and Suzuka kind of like provide the vocals depending on the tone that they're going for at the moment or the song. And the dynamics of their vocals is kind of what define the singing. Suzuka kind of provides a very like a very wild, like very like bringing in traditional Japanese style, like vibrato style singing, a very like deeper voice, and kind of like lower tones and something like that. Mizu kind of like provides like more of the like lighter vocal tones and lighter singing, and the kind of the more cutesy stuff, but like more of the higher tones, and kind of like they fill that. It is a nice mix and a nice blend of music genres that are, they're very well produced. You get like very good production value, and I think that's a product of their team and resources from 88 Rising, which is really great. And ultimately, it is like dynamics, energy, and catchiness. Like a lot of catchy hooks, a lot of fun things like that. That's what you're gonna find here. David, how would you describe this album musically?
I would describe this album musically as very much in the modern East Asian pop space. It has that milieu, but it also jumps into other genres like a lot of these groups tend to do. However, in this case, what I think differentiates this group is that a lot of other groups will lean more into the R&B influence, and there's not as much as that on this album. There's definitely more of a rock influence, but there's also some disco influence and some 80s influence. It's very unique in that regard, in that suddenly you think you're listening to just every other J-pop group you've heard before for as long as you've been on this podcast, or for as long as J-pop has been around. But then it turns into a disco song out of nowhere. The second half of this album had a lot of interesting surprises.
And if you want to cheat as far as the name, you can just call him AG. They often are called AG.
I'm not calling them leaders of the new school.
No.
I will not.
Drew, how would you describe this album musically?
Well, like David said, there isn't as much of the R&B that J-pop and K-pop sometimes leans on, which I'm not mad about, to be fair. The speed is actually what sort of hit me first. The speed of it was crazy because either the music or the vocals were constantly, like, in my opinion, like full tilt, which was cool. There's 11 tracks in 32 minutes. Like, that is punk album length for the amount of tracks. Again, as a punk rock guy, not mad. And the inspiration felt super, super all over the place, which I really, really dug. There was like a 90s, like at times there was this like 90s era electro jazz, like sort of acid jazz almost sort of feel to it. There's a lot of hip hop influence, obviously. And just like more straight up pop influence. And it created this thing that I think was really, really cool. the idea of them having a backstory of finding each other and
I think which they just said in one interview is like, we met in a supermarket. Like they just kind of said it in an interview once.
Right. That seems kind of them trying to come up with a back answer. So the idea of the individuality push can sort of seep through. Which is fine. Like, I get it. You got to have your thing. And if that's how they're going to try to do it, go for it. I wish if they were doing that, the uniforms there was a like definite difference, like a more defined difference than just like hair and movement.
Yeah.
But it was fun.
Yeah. Yeah, and as we get into kind of like the key tracks, there's a lot of really great moments. It starts off with a really great intense high energy with Fly High that kind of brings a really cool like I think I saw in a review it got described as like a funk techno sound, but their own like spin on it, and it really kind of like gets you invited into what you're expecting in this album. I jumped to Esa Hoisa, which I just had a unique like chantability, chant style with like Suzuka's like the vocals like really shine in this song, like her vocality and her like performance was just fantastic, and bringing in that kind of like traditional vibrato, which was really dope, and like mixed in with the performances of the others was really cool, and like mixing it, like bouncing back between her with Mizu's support and Kanan and Rin with providing the raps, providing the interstitials and stuff like that was really cool. Drama was a really fun song featuring Thai rapper Millie, which is a fun feature. This is you get your third language in this album. This is after you've already been listening to Japanese with English interjections. Now you get a few Thai lines in there, like which is fantastic. And this one kind of includes like a very like it plays on the very cool like pop punk resurgence that has been happening lately, which I think I want to call more of a punk pop movement. And the way I say it, because rather than pop punk, which is punk is the noun and pop is the adjective. Now we kind of have more of a punk pop where pop is the noun and punk is the adjective. If that makes any sense.
Excellent description, Petey. Excellent.
That's really
That's outstanding.
So like we're like that's kind of been the key thing is like they're both there and they're both cool, and the mix is its own thing recently. I think that's what I've been feeling about this resurgence that we happen later, because it has its own mix in that way, and this is an example of that. The Superhuman, like all of a sudden we have like a surf rock sort of like pop rock song in there, almost like a I want to say not rockabilly, but like those kind of styles, like music, and it's super catchy and super fun. Forever Sisters just being like this disco song about them being forever sisters, like and it's just a really well performed disco track, really fun. And then like it ends on Tokyo Calling, which is one of the singles. It's just a fantastic like engaging anthemic track that kind of like gets you pumped up and gets you super excited. And it is a pleaser at their shows for a reason. Let's go to you guys. David, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
Sorry, Drew. I really enjoyed the opening track, Fly High. It introduced the album at full speed, and I really, really dug that. It really just threw you in like you're running at full speed with the girls, and there's no slowing down. Track 4, which I believe was called Maji Yoroshiku. I loved the tempo change in the second verse. It's a bit of a wild song. You can't expect a song like this to make up a whole album because the machine needs to be fed. But this was an interesting departure of a song, and I really liked it. Drama felt like it would have fit in perfectly with a 90s rom-com movie, like a 90s teen rom-com. Not derogatory. Forever Sisters was the first song where I heard that kind of retro disco-y energy. And that goes for Arigato as well. And Hero Show also. The synths in the melody on this song were almost Prince-like in their influence. And I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah. I was thinking of Morris Day in the Time as well, like in particular.
Same space.
Yes,
really.
but yeah, pretty much same. It's also Prince. Drew, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
Well, Fly High. We'll go ahead and do that one because, like David said, it gets you going and going quick. It is like if there was a movie, TV show, video game, whatever, that had a fight in a dance club, this is the song. Like, this is the score.
Mm-hmm.
It just, like David said, it throws you into the deep end really, really quick, and I enjoyed it for that. Is it Maji Yoroshiku? Is that...
So. Yeah, Maji Yoroshiku, yeah.
The sort of, when I am working, I will throw either synthwave or city funk like live YouTube channels in the background because it's good working music. And this is like, hey, we're going to take a lot of those sounds, but we're going to put them at punk speed. I thought that idea was real dope. Mm-hmm. And I would like more of that in a lot of things. And then Tokyo Calling, there is like, the verses in this song have like a menace to them, but then it like that like heavy tone sort of drops and leaves this like glorious, grand, triumphant sort of chorus part like in the middle. And I loved the dichotomy of those two feelings and how it felt on that last track.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's bring it back around the horn and talk about some conclusive thoughts. David, what would be your conclusion on this album as a whole?
After a couple of listens with this album, I can definitely say I had fun with it. It did not go on too long, and it did not overstay its welcome. I felt like for what this was, it was exactly right in length. I had fun with it. It was musically a little more than I expected. It was a little different from the norm of artists in this space that have been brought on this podcast before. And I would say that overall it was pretty good. It was I would say it was good enough to stand out. Mm-hmm. I will also say
yes.
just they have an artistic vision, and normally I make fun of groups for that because it's it doesn't come off as organic to me. But I once again will say that I wish them the best of luck in changing the cultural norms in Japan amongst all the other girl prop groups looking to change the cultural norms in Japan. I wish them all the best of luck.
Drew, how would you conclude on this album as a whole?
This is one of those things that if it wasn't put right in front of me, I never would have found. That said, I think it's something that is really a lot of fun. I think it's something that there's those bands that like I'm reminded like, oh yeah, there's a whole separate communities around these things that like this is a type of band that like if I could get the snot out of the back of my throat. That like I'd hear passing a room at like Colossal Con or something.
Yeah.
Like somebody would be playing this band and you'd be like, I've never heard that group before. They sound cool, but I don't want to seem weird and like just go like, hey, who's that? And seem like the weirdo.
That's why we invented Shazam.
Exactly.
Yep. So like these things falling into my lap because of a mix of this show and being a part of like a bunch of weird, disparate internet communities, I'm a fan of. I'm okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty great.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they have a really cool like sound and personality. This album displays a very cool sound and really cool personality and a really cool like vibe and a great energy. And it's one of those things where like it mixes all of it really well, and it's really all fun and really like all dynamic and engaging and kind of like, but it hits you with exactly as much as you need of it. But it's still it's an absolute blast. I also really dig how like I'm really digging how much I've seen of their like live performances and kind of like how fun and wild they are. And they seem to really do well and have a really great like stage presence and stage charisma and really great performers. So that I think that's going to help them thrive really well. And they seem to they have a lot of buzz. Like it says a lot for, ADA Rising has a lot of artists, but they don't have like every artist. And for them
on a scale of 1 to BTS, where would you say they're at right now, Petey?
It's hard for me to like judge, but they're maybe a 5 or a 6.
Oh, okay.
If BTS is 10.
Yeah.
So where's Love Exteria?
Popularity, in my heart, they're a 10. But I don't want to put a number on the popularity. I'll say in my heart they're a 10. So I'll leave it at that.
That's why I asked, because they're probably one of the.
Then you know what? That's enough.
Like the name in the back of my head that I remember the most, and I would like them to be more popular than they are if they are not as popular as.
Other groups, at least indie groups. So that's all that matters to me, and I will continue to support them. But yeah, AG, ATARASHII GAKKO, are just fantastic performers, and this album is a really great example of that, and a really great microcosm of that. And I'm looking forward to more. I mean, they already have a new single out with Change, and that's also a fantastic track. So I'm looking forward to more from AG, and maybe I really want to see them live because they seem fun. And yeah, those are our thoughts on this album. Now we get to the main event of the evening, the moment we've all been waiting for, our haiku reviews, where we sum it all in poetic form with the 575. Let's get down to the nitty gritty. Haiku numero uno. Pew. David, what is your haiku?
My haiku. Another girl group. J-pop with disco sprinkles. It's fine. Good enough.
Drew, what is your haiku?
Uniform looking, but not uniform sounding. Tokyo Calling.
My haiku. Dynamic J-pop with infectious energy and big potential. And yeah, those are our thoughts on ATARASHII GAKKO's AG Calling. You can, of course, find it on our Spotify playlist and YouTube playlists. Play Record Breakers, the home game, do your due diligence and your due diligence. Next week's album is going to be provided by David. David, what have you got for us next week?
I have an album that I have to decide. Drew, should I go with the super duper obvious thing that everyone would expect me to do, or should I not?
If it's the thing you alluded to in the Discord earlier, that would be the obvious thing. Earlier today, when I said I was going to have to pivot from GNX, and you said another album, I wouldn't mind listening to that album because I haven't yet.
Well, I'm not going to do that.
Okay.
I am going to pick a band that I think has been kind of forgotten to time, but they were a very significant band in my formative years.
Pep Shop Boys.
Close. In the 90s, there was a lot of American rock music that I considered to be pretty mid. I think a lot of people would tell you, like, from the passing of Kurt Cobain till about 2001, rock music in America wasn't in its best place. But there was a band that I found that I absolutely loved. And this band is called Days of the New. They put out 3 albums, and I will be bringing their 3rd album from 2001. It is Days of the New, their 3rd album, colloquially entitled Red.
Some might remember them as the Acoustic Teens, but we'll talk about the history
Yep, that's
the and that band.
Don't remember any of this.
I remember. Well, there's the one song, but we're not going to be talking about that one song, which is really cool because we're going to be talking about some of their later music, and that's
you know I will always go for a deep cut if I can find it.
And I'm excited for it. But yeah, look forward to that. That'll be next week, and this is this week. And you can, of course, find us all over the internet. Rebelli.net, recordbreakers.fun. You can find us on YouTube and Twitch, Rebelli TV, both places. VODs and episodes, videos over on YouTube. And of course, you can catch us live on Twitch and hang out with us for all of our streams, this, Through the Tomes, our GMO streams, and whatever else I concoct in the future. Look forward to that. Like, share, subscribe, do all the things. Until next time, hasta los huevos.
Toodaloo, babies.
Annyeong. Fighting.
Bye-bye.
Crying nut.
Goodbye, mwah, and good night, bang.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.